Harry had always possessed an unfortunate habit of thinking aloud, a quirk that had cost him promotions, friendships, and on one memorable occasion, a perfectly good cup of coffee when his musings about orbital mechanics had distracted him mid-sip. But never, not in his 32 years of existence, had this particular failing threatened to upend the delicate diplomatic relations between Earth and the Zaltharin Empire. The observation deck of the Meridian Accord, humanity's flagship diplomatic vessel, offered an unobstructed view of the Andromeda Galaxy's spiral arms. Harry stood alone, or so he believed, his reflection ghostly against the reinforced Polymath viewport. Behind him, the reception hall buzzed with carefully orchestrated conversation, ambassadors, xenobiologists, and cultural liaisons navigating the intricate dance of first contact protocols with Earth's newest potential allies. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Harry murmured to himself, watching Princess Honey glide through the crowd below. The Zaltharin royal moved with an otherworldly grace, her bioluminescent skin casting subtle patterns of azure and violet across the polished deck. Her species had evolved on a world with 1.4 times Earth's gravity, giving them a distinctive elegance even in lighter environments. I wonder if human Zaltharin hybridization would even be biologically possible. The DNA structures are silicon-based versus carbon, would require complete genomic reconstruction, probably CRISPR-X9 technology at minimum. He pulled out his personal data slate, fingers dancing across the holographic interface as he called up comparative biochemistry charts. The mitochondrial incompatibility alone would be approximately 847 distinct genetic barriers, if our science division's calculations are correct. Harry froze. The voice came from directly behind him, melodic, precise, and unmistakably belonging to Princess Honey herself. He turned slowly, his data slate clattering to the deck. The princess stood 3 feet away, her compound eyes, capable of perceiving wavelengths from infrared to ultraviolet, fixed upon him with what he desperately hoped was curiosity rather than offense. The translator implant at her temple pulsed softly, synchronizing her native harmonic language into flawless standard English. "Your Highness," Harry's mind raced through every diplomatic protocol he'd memorized. None covered accidentally proposing hypothetical hybrid offspring with an alien princess. "I apologize. I have a regrettable tendency to vocalize my scientific hypotheticals without proper consideration for context, audience, diplomatic ramifications." Honey's facial chromatophores shifted to a warmer amber pattern. Among her people, Harry knew from his briefings, this indicated amusement. "Your Ambassador Chen has already issued 17 formal apologies on your behalf this evening alone. I've been curious about the human who requires such diligent damage control." She moved closer, and Harry caught the faint scent of ozone and something floral, a byproduct of the Zaltharin respiratory system's interaction with oxygen-rich atmospheres. "Your hypothesis about hybridization is scientifically sound, Dr. Harrison Matthews. I've read your published work on cross-species genetic compatibility. Quite thorough." "Read my work," Harry blinked. His papers on theoretical xenobiology had been academic exercises, published in obscure journals that barely registered 10 downloads each. The Zaltharin Imperial Science Collective monitors all significant research in genetic engineering. Your proposal for the Adaptive Genome Bridge Protocol was particularly innovative. Honey picked up his fallen data slate, her 3-fingered hands manipulating the human interface with practiced ease. "Though you made several assumptions about silicon-based genetic expression that our data suggests are incomplete." She pulled up a file from her own neural interface, projecting it into the space between them. Complex molecular diagrams rotated in the air, structures Harry had never seen, geometries that defied conventional organic chemistry. "We've been conducting our own research," Honey continued. "Not specifically regarding human Zaltharin hybridization, you understand, but into the broader question of cross-species genetic viability. The Empire's expansion has brought us into contact with 47 distinct sapient species. Only 12 share even remotely compatible biological foundations. Harry's scientific curiosity overwhelmed his embarrassment. He stepped closer to the projection, his fingers instinctively reaching out to manipulate the molecular model. This structure here, it's a bridging protein complex, isn't it? Designed to facilitate communication between silicon and carbon-based cellular machinery. Precisely. The warmth in Honey's chromatophores intensified. Our geneticists have theorized that with sufficient technological intervention, barriers between even radically different biochemistries could be overcome. Not easily, and not without risks, but theoretically possible. Harry's mind spun through the implications. The ethical considerations alone would be staggering. You'd essentially be creating an entirely new form of life, one that might not fit comfortably in either parent-species society. The medical requirements, the potential for unforeseen complications. All valid concerns, Honey agreed. Which is why such research remains purely theoretical, until perhaps there exists a compelling reason to advance from theory to practice. She met his gaze directly, and Harry felt the full weight of her attention. Zaltharin's eyes could focus on multiple focal planes simultaneously. She was reading his micro-expressions, his pupil dilation, probably even his heart rate from the subtle pulse in his neck. "Your initial question," she said softly, "the one you posed to yourself. You were wondering if it would be possible, but I suspect the scientific inquiry masked a more personal curiosity." Harry's throat went dry. "Your Highness, I assure you I meant no disrespect. It was purely academic." Harry, she used his given name, and the translator somehow captured the warmth she must have encoded in her native harmonics. In Zaltharin culture, we value directness. When we're interested in someone, we state it clearly. The human custom of elaborate verbal dancing around attraction seems unnecessarily complicated. "I'm sorry, are you saying?" Harry stopped, his scientific mind finally catching up to the conversation's actual trajectory. "Wait, you're interested." "I find your mind fascinating," Honey said simply. "Your capacity to see beyond immediate applications to theoretical possibilities, your willingness to question established limitations, and yes, your unfortunate habit of speaking your thoughts aloud, which I find oddly endearing." Her chromatophores cycled through a pattern Harry's briefing materials had never covered, something between amusement and anticipation. "The question of human Zaltharin genetic compatibility," she continued, "is indeed theoretical at present. But I've learned that the most significant scientific breakthroughs often begin with someone asking, 'What if?'" She extended her hand, palm up, a gesture that her cultural attachés had taught her humans used to signal openness and invitation. "So here is my proposal, Dr. Matthews. Let's try." "Try," Harry echoed, his usually agile mind stumbling over the simple word. "To understand each other, to explore whether the biological barriers between our species are matched by cultural, emotional, or intellectual ones. The genetic question can remain theoretical." Her eyes sparkled with something that transcended species barriers, mischief, intelligence, genuine interest. "For now." Harry looked at her outstretched hand, then at the molecular diagram still rotating between them, then back to her face. Somewhere in the reception hall, Ambassador Chen was probably developing an ulcer over his latest diplomatic incident. But for once, Harry's tendency to think aloud had led somewhere his careful planning never would have. He took her hand. Her skin was cooler than human, slightly textured like fine silicon polymer, and absolutely remarkable. "I accept your proposal, Your Highness," he said. "Though I should warn you, I have approximately 17 more regrettable habits beyond thinking aloud." "Only 17. Honey's chromatophores rippled with unmistakable amusement. "I have 43 by my mother's count. I suspect we'll manage." As they stood together before the viewport, two beings from worlds separated by impossible distances, Harry reflected that perhaps some barriers, genetic, cultural, or otherwise, existed precisely to make their eventual crossing more meaningful. The universe was vast, complex, and full of questions that seemed impossible until someone dared to ask them aloud. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe answered back.